This is a short review of my conversion to an electric Brompton. It's a Brompton C-Line 2021, and I did a lot of research on electric kits. I would have liked a Brompton electric bike, but at £2,500 that's way beyond my reach, and a great shame that they don't do some kind of retrofit kit option, but there we are. The next one down I looked at was ARC, ARCC. Looks like a good kit, but it's got to be factory fitted and costs about £1,700. Again, if you add that to the cost of the standard C-Line bike, it puts it to what I consider to be a silly price. I had a look at something called Citronex, which is a bottle mount type battery which fits on the frame here. I like that, I really liked it, but again we're still looking at £1,200 for that, plus the cost of fitting. The bike again has got to go to Citronex, I think, or at least it's got to be fitted by, you know, a qualified person. I had a look at the Nano and really liked the Nano. I nearly went with it, but again it's around about £900, and I carried on looking. I ruled out the Switch early on because I don't like the way they do their marketing. You don't know really the price that you're going to be paying. It's all delivery dependent. I've heard that people have waited some months for their kit to arrive, and I think even if you pay full whack, you can't get it off the shelf. I might be wrong with that, but anyway, the price is still, you know, up there. It's £800 or £900. I came across this kit and this company really trawling through the forums, in particular one forum called Pedelec, and they were old posts. I think the latest one I saw was 2019, and I think, well, I might be wrong, but I got the feeling the kit was still being sort of developed in those earlier years. But anyway, I looked them up on the internet, found their website. It's a company called Woosh, WOOSH, and I think they're based in Southend-on-Sea. They've got a good website which shows you all of the options they do. I think they even make their own bikes, but they do two Brompton kits. The one I've got, which is called the battery in a bag option, and they do another one which is called a frog mount battery. Now the battery in a bag I think is 10 amp hours, and I'll show you that now. No, I'll show you in a minute. But it's basically it's in a bag and it fastens around the stem here and the handlebars, and the frog mount goes on the luggage block, and I think that's a 13 amp hour or maybe 20, I don't know, but I think they do a couple of options for it. This would have to be removed and you put their own brand mount on with the electrical connections, which means that you effectively lose that luggage mount option, and I didn't want that. This battery bag option looked to me the right way to go. Anyway, it wasn't quite, but we'll get to that in a minute. But what I was pleased about is that the kit, including delivery, was £499, and I thought that that was a sort of risk worth taking, really. The guy I spoke to down there, a chap called Andy, seemed to think it was something I could fit myself, and part of me really liked the idea of sort of, you know, having a hand in the building of it, so that's the way I went. I ordered it and it took 2 days to arrive. I ordered it late on, I think, the Monday, and it arrived Wednesday morning, which is pretty good. I mean, if you want something, you don't want to be waiting months for it, you want it off the shelf. And anyway, it certainly arrived promptly, so the kit was all there, there was nothing missing. The quality looked good. This is the wheel. Now then, of the whole installation, This is the hardest part for me. It's the first time I've had to change the tyre on a Brompton. What a job I had. I actually broke 2 tyre levers on it until I watched a video by Woosh Bikes, and the lady there made me think that in comparison I was an absolute wuss, because she did it without using any tools. Anyway, another set of tyre levers later and I did manage to do it. So my hat's off to that lady in Woosh Bikes. She doesn't look like a, you know, a strongman by any means, but she's pretty good at taking these tyres off. Anyway, so that was the hard part. The wheel slotted in. There was no widening of the forks required, no filing away bits of the you know, the mount here. It just went completely straight in. And what I like too, it came with the rim tape, the new rim tape already on it. And I have seen on instructions on other websites to reuse the one on your Brompton wheel. So I thought that was a nice touch. And my Brompton wheel is now, you know, stored away with its own nuts and everything else on it. Should I ever want to change back, it's certainly possible. But this is a good wheel. It looks strong, and the motor works great, but I'll tell you about that in a bit. This is the pedal assist sensor, is just mounted there on the bottom bracket, and in front of it is the magnet sensors. It's a 12 magnet system and it's solid. And what I like about this is that though it's more difficult to fit than other options like switch, where you have, you know, those 2 halves that clip together and go on the opposite crank, what I like about this is it's not only solid because it's mounted on the bottom bracket, but there's no danger of you accidentally catching that with your foot when you're pedaling and breaking it. And I think that you could easily do that on the opposite crank. So in order to fit, you need an Allen key for the crank, you need a crank pulling tool, and you need a bottom bracket remover. And the bottom bracket remover is one of those. I picked that up from Halfords for £8. Obviously you need a spanner to go with it, but you know, you can borrow a spanner. I'm sure that I used a shifting spanner on it. So that's that. And the other tools, the Allen key and the crank puller, I got from Woosh Bikes, who brilliantly got it to me the next day. So that was straightforward. The tyre was physically different, but the wheel installation was a doddle. The cabling, so there's one single cable that comes from the pedal assist sensor and runs up. I've got an extension on there which I asked Andy for, because I've changed the bag arrangement, which I'll talk about in a moment. And then you've got so that's the pedal assist sensor. Then you've got the connector that goes from the handlebar display unit to the battery bag. And then down here you've got, maybe I can show you that. You've got the cable that runs down to the motor on the wheel. Right, so going back to this bag arrangement, what I didn't like about it, although it fits on there and it looks okay, in actual fact you wouldn't know it was a battery bag. It looks like a small bag that you'd perhaps have a, you know, spare end of tube in and a jam butty or something like that. But for me it wasn't secure enough. I didn't like the fact that you could move it. It's a little bit floppy. It looks like somebody's come up with an idea for it but hasn't really thought about the practicalities of riding with it. So what I did, I bought an L-shaped mounting bracket which I saw on Amazon. Just a steel plate in an L shape, and I'll show you that now. So that's it on the bottom of the rather nice bag that they supply. Not looking so good with my bungee straps, but this is the way I fit it. There we are, one click and it's on. and then the cables hook up and away you go. Now that is totally secure. You know, I part of my route out is on cobbles, and this is held absolutely without worry, firmly in place. And I like the fact that if I want to ride with a larger bag, this whole thing will go into a burrow bag, and you could, you know, which was what I've done, I've made a couple of neat holes in the back of the burrow bag for these cables to come through, and you can still run with a luggage mount. I've also seen on Etsy another bracket which is just a plain plate with this mount on the back, and it has a matching plate which you could fit inside any bag. They screw together, and then that bag, you know, without playing Brompton prices, then becomes an effective bag for the Brompton, and again would fit this inside easily. Now, I've got this secured at the moment around with a bungee cord, which I just take off, and I am going to come up with some kind of more permanent idea for this to be screwed to this plate permanently. Ignore these are the original straps, and I just wrap them around. Anyway, that has worked very well. Now the bike itself, the ride itself, I am so impressed with. I actually use the display on here. By the way, I know it doesn't look very good at the moment. It's the only place I could fit it, and that's not a problem with the kit. That's the M bars, but I'm going to get a bridging piece to fasten this onto. But yeah, by using the plus and minus button, it acts like an extension to the gear range on this bike. Now I've got 6 gears on this C-line, and it just works like a dream. It's intuitive. I'll drop down through the gears as I approach a hill, and up through the power setting on the display, and it'll go up anything. I mean, there's a hill local to me which is so steep that it will set the front wheel spinning, because the weight transfer to the back takes the weight off the front wheel. But even with that, you know, if I lean forward on the bike as I'm riding it a little more, the grip is perfectly adequate to get me up even a very steep incline. Very, very impressed. It doesn't affect the ride in any way. If I take the power off completely, you wouldn't know that the bike had been modified in any way. To me, it rides exactly the same as the original wheel. Now there is some more resistance, you know, if you take the wheel off the ground and spin it, it will slow down quicker than your original wheel, but you really do not feel that or notice it when you're riding the bike without power. Brilliant solution. I'm really impressed, and for the price, well, I'm not sure. I think you could probably find kits from the Far East on eBay or Amazon or whatever that's cheaper, but the fact that they're here in this country and there's a guy on the other end of the phone to ring if you have a problem installing it, or indeed aftermarket worries or warranty, I think that for the price it's excellent, and I recommend it. So I hope this has been useful. If you have any questions, then leave a message and I'll do my best to answer them. Thank you very much.